Last February, I bought my first Porsche 911. It's been a whole year, so we're gonna talk about it. What's up everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Rob Anzit, and on this episode we're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, the pricing of owning this beautiful 911 996 for a year, and whether or not I made the right decision in purchasing it, and if I'm going to keep it. That's what we're going to talk about. So we're first going to talk about the good. I have some notes that I've written down because I can't remember everything. I also have my first journal when I bought the car on like the history, the maintenance, everything that costs for this vehicle to keep it maintained for a whole year. And we're just gonna kind of go through these things together. But the good, everything about this car for the driving and the feel is absolutely amazing. From the driving ability, steering, braking, the RPMs, this thing just screams. And for someone that left the classic car industry as a whole with like cars that had no AC, no power steering, drum brakes, to, you know, not even 200 horsepower, to something like this, a Porsche 911 that has 300 plus horsepower, AC, comfort features, but still feels analog. That's what's great about this car. Is I've driven a lot of cars, exotic cars, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and then when I hopped into this, there's something just about it that I put on 20,000 kilometers in a year. And in Ontario, that's pretty good because we have short season with winter, and I didn't want to drive it because it's rear wheel drive. Maybe next year. But in general, when you get into this car, I feel so alive and I feel so connected to the car. There's just something about it that makes me not want to bring it in the garage, shut the garage, and go back in. It just makes me want to keep driving it. And I did a lot of road trips with this car. I wanted to experience this car to the fullest. I haven't done a track day, but I've done long road trips, you know, 2 days of driving. I've done gigs with it, so my projects and client work with the frunk is pretty decent for camera gear. I've had adventure trips with my wife and the dog because it's got a back seat. So there's so many good things about this, but also I want to mention the maintenance. Like, it's very simple of a car. Besides the big things, like if you had to remove a motor or something, sure, but everything a normal backyard mechanic or someone that is mechanically inclined that could read a manual or watch a YouTube video or a YouTube education can really figure out in this car. And that's what made me enjoy it probably even more, is the fact that I could drive it, beat on it, maintain it, and still put endless amount of miles on it. That made me appreciate owning it. And seeing it in my garage, as someone who came again from the classic car scene, there's so much pride and joy of seeing my Porsche in the garage that just makes me really happy. I don't know what it is. It's just maybe the emblem, the look of the car, seeing the back taillights, seeing the front end, just that extra bit of pride that I don't think I had with my other cars or my other classic cars that I do with this car. Another big factor is definitely the community. There is a lot of 996, my heater just turned on in the garage, hopefully you guys don't hear it, but there's a lot of 996 community enthusiasts that really understand this car, really understand that it's a driver's car. And the forum in general are amazing. There's a lot of help and resources. So that's another big reason why I enjoy this car, is because the community, because there was a lot of guys saying, just drive the vehicle, do your oil changes, anything comes up, you're most likely can do it. Find aftermarket parts If they work, if you can get OEM and if you can afford it, that's great. It's even better for the car. But most things you can find online that are aftermarket that will work just as good as OEM, and that will save you a lot of money. So I think that community aspect really grew on me really quickly, and I really appreciate that community for what it is and for the people in it. All right, let's speak about the bad. And there's not many bad parts, but maintenance reality is one of them I wrote down. In general, I think the aging parts on a 2003 Porsche that gets driven hard from previous owners or neglect definitely adds up with small fixes. I think parts aren't the scariest factor here to be noticing. I think it's the fact that Porsche tax on parts is the scary factor. Parts, aftermarket parts, or finding the right companies that have the right resources to find and save you money is super important. And I did that along the way. I found out by asking the right people in the community on where to get the right parts to source from. But everything else, like a simple O2 sensor in comparison to anything else, is twice or 3 times as much. Go to the dealership, who knows, 5 times as much. And it's not to say that these are vehicles that need extensive amount of maintenance, but when you're buying an older vehicle like a 2003, that parts haven't been either changed out because they're original or just neglect, you're gonna end up changing more than one part throughout the year. And that's something that I wrote down in my notes to describe and tell you guys on how much things cost. Out of all things in the category of bad, I think it comes down to anxiety for me. I think reading way too much in-depth resources online about bore scoring or IMS failing really puts you into a factor of, am I hurting this car too much by driving it this much? Should I get the IMS replaced? This car does not have a replacement IMS, has original at 150,000 kilometers. And there's just anxiety when you do drive it. And now I didn't have that anxiety throughout the whole year, but it is a factor when it keeps coming up on either social media, in Facebook forums or on Instagram, of guys saying, you know, if you haven't replaced your IMS, do so, replace the clutch as well while you're doing it. There's $6,000. I personally don't think this car needs a clutch, and I don't personally think it needs an IMS. So when you're driving it, you get that buildup of scared, of being anxious that maybe something could go wrong. So I ended up writing that down, of just having anxiety sometimes from driving the car. And it's something you don't really enjoy, but when you're factoring in a car like this, where a motor replacement could be $30,000 to $40,000, or if you should get a bore scoring test done just to factor out that your car isn't prone to those issues. Now, throughout that whole year, every oil change I did send it out to get examined. I have a video based on where to send it out, but it's important to keep those costs in mind when you're buying something like this. Are you going to do your own oil changes? Are you going to send out the oil to get examined? If there's metal or shavings or anything that's excessive to it, are you going to do the extra maintenance to replace all those bigger factors? Now, again, I've spoke with a lot of people, and it's something to not consider. For myself, I don't consider anything of a bore scoring or IMS failure to happen on my car, knock on wood. But in that case, you really don't know. You're taking a chance, and that's something that I'll live with for the anxiety of owning this car, but it definitely goes away very quickly when you're in the full season and driving it for a lot of time. If you've waited this long to watch to the very end, this is what it costs to own the Porsche 911 996 for a whole year, starting with insurance being $110 a month. That's with like classic car insurance. Gasoline for the week, roughly $70 to $80. Now, mind you, I work from home, but I go to the gym every day. So I do drive on the back roads and the highways, and most of my projects are throughout the week. Roughly that's 70, 80 bucks for 94 octane. Most oil changes are between like the mid 200s to 300, and the only reason why I give a range is because you can do additives. You can add additives to this vehicle if you want to for longevity of higher kilometers, this one being 150,000. I'm starting to do that now. And then checking your oil and sending it out, that could also add up in cost if you were to do those extra bits. Now, the other maintenance parts as well for this vehicle, one being oil change, I did that. Transmission fluid, I did the light bulbs, rear tail light, the front end, I did the suspension strut on top. I did a few little odds ends on the suspension as well too. I did the 2 coils. So this car is super easy to maintain, but overall with that many kilometers throughout the year, I spent, drum roll please, $1,665 on basic maintenance of anything that went wrong or here clunking. Now, I also didn't factor in the wheels that I picked up or the used coilover. So again, I'm rounding up to about $3,000. The other maintenance that I haven't done yet that I need to order on my list is either an alternator or a belt, serpentine belt with pulleys. I don't quite know what one is making the noise, so I'm gonna show in a video coming up in the future on how to check that before you purchase those parts. But again, those parts are fairly inexpensive, and to do the maintenance, YouTube University, I can do everything, and I'll end up producing a video to show you guys. But for everything else, thank you very much for watching all the way to the end. I'm excited to see this vehicle transform into something new and exciting. The wheels, the coilovers, some special parts from Pelican, as well as Seasucker hooked me up with a roof rack that I plan to put my skateboard and other maybe mountain bikes on it that I'm excited about. But if you have any other questions about the Porsche 911 996, or if you own one, comment below, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace and love from your homie Rob. Peace.